Why do smart people make bad money decisions? The answer has almost nothing to do with mathematics. Money. Some people have plenty of it. Some struggle to keep it. Others understand how to make it work. We think money is simply numbers: income, expenses, savings, and returns. But real financial decisions happen when we're afraid, excited, proud, or comparing ourselves with someone else. The numbers may be objective. Our behavior is not. Financial DNA. Every person develops a different relationship with money. Think about the environment you grew up in. What did your parents believe about saving? Did your family experience financial hardship? Did people around you trust the stock market? Was inflation something everyone worried about? These experiences shape us. Someone who grew up watching their parents struggle may become very cautious. Someone who grew up during strong economic growth may feel comfortable taking risks. Give both people the same investment opportunity, and they may still make different decisions. Why? Because they aren't looking at the world through the same lens. Our financial choices are influenced by memories, family, environment, successes, and failures. Before judging another person's choices, remember that you haven't lived their life. You haven't experienced their risks, and you haven't seen the events that shaped their beliefs. We all have our own financial DNA. Compounding. One of the most powerful forces in investing is time. Imagine putting $1,000 into an investment earning 8% a year. After 1 year, you earn $80. Now you have $1,080. The next return is calculated on the larger amount. Then it happens again. Your money produces returns, and those returns produce more returns. That is compounding. The strange part is that compounding looks unimpressive at first. For years, progress can seem almost boring. Then the curve begins to rise. You don't necessarily need extraordinary returns. You need reasonable returns combined with enough time. Starting early gives your money more time to multiply, and patience allows the process to continue. Time doesn't simply add returns, time multiplies them. The power of time. Warren Buffett is often described as one of the greatest investors in history. But there's another lesson hidden inside his story. A huge portion of his wealth was created later in his life. How can someone accumulate so much wealth when much of their life is already past? One answer is that Buffett started investing early. Pessimism and money. Now consider the way financial news reaches us. A sudden market crash gets everyone's attention. A large company failing becomes a headline. A recession creates fear. But gradual improvement rarely creates the same excitement. Humans naturally pay more attention to dramatic events. A sudden loss feels important. Slow progress feels ordinary. A market falling sharply can dominate the news for weeks, but an economy gradually improving over several years may barely receive attention. This creates a psychological trap. We can begin to believe that the world is constantly getting worse simply because negative events are easier to notice. Bad news is loud. Progress is quiet. Optimism doesn't mean believing everything will always go well. It means understanding that setbacks can happen while long-term progress continues. The next time you see headlines about a market crash or economic disaster, remember something simple. The future doesn't have to look like today's headlines. Luck and risk. Success stories are often simplified. We hear that someone became successful because they were smarter, they worked harder, they made better decisions. Sometimes that's true, but there is another variable that deserves attention. Luck, and its opposite, risk. Two people can have similar intelligence and ambition. One receives an extraordinary opportunity at exactly the right moment. The other never receives that opportunity. Their lives can end up looking completely different. Someone can also make an excellent decision and still experience a terrible outcome because of circumstances they couldn't control. This doesn't mean effort is meaningless. It means outcomes aren't always perfect measurements of ability. Success can contain skill, persistence, timing, opportunity, and luck. Failure can contain mistakes, bad timing, and risk. Understanding this should make us more humble when things go well, and more patient with ourselves when things go badly. A good decision can produce a bad outcome, and a bad decision can occasionally produce a good outcome. That's why we should judge decisions by the quality of the thinking behind them, not only by the result. Opportunity. Sometimes a single opportunity can completely change a person's future. Imagine being a student at a school where access to a computer is extremely rare. You happen to be one of the few students who gets access. That opportunity could introduce you to an entirely new world. You might develop skills years before everyone else. You might meet the right people. You might discover an idea that changes your career. The opportunity doesn't guarantee success. You still need intelligence, work, persistence, and execution. But the opportunity can give you a head start. Someone else may have been equally talented, but never received the same opportunity. That's why financial success should never be viewed as a perfectly controlled experiment. We can control some things, we cannot control everything. Luck and risk are always somewhere in the background. Tail events. Here's another strange truth about investing and business. A small number of events can create a huge percentage of the final result. Imagine owning 100 investments. Most perform reasonably. Some fail, a few do well, and perhaps one becomes extraordinary. That one investment could potentially contribute more to your final result than dozens of ordinary investments combined. This idea appears everywhere. Business, investing, entrepreneurship, even entertainment. A company may launch dozens of products. Most may disappear, but one product can become enormous. This changes the way we should think about failure. Failure isn't always evidence that the entire strategy is broken. Sometimes failure is simply part of discovering the few opportunities that can produce extraordinary results. You don't need every decision to work. You need a few decisions to work exceptionally well. The 1% that matters. Think about a comedian. When you watch their final performance, you see the best jokes, the jokes that worked, the jokes that made people laugh. What you don't see are the hundreds of experiments that came before them. Bad jokes, awkward jokes, jokes that received silence. The final performance is the visible result of all those experiments. Investing can work in a similar way. When we look at successful investors, we see their winners. We don't see every mistake. We don't see every failed investment. We don't see every opportunity they rejected. This creates a dangerous illusion. We begin to believe that successful people were always right. They weren't. Good investors can be wrong. Good leaders can make bad decisions. Good companies can launch products that fail. The difference is that a small number of successful decisions can have an enormous impact. So don't expect perfection. Being wrong sometimes doesn't mean you're failing. Rich versus wealthy. Being rich and being wealthy aren't necessarily the same thing. Being rich can mean having a high income, driving an expensive car, living in a large house, buying expensive things. But wealth is different. Wealth is the financial strength you have that you haven't spent yet. A luxury car tells you that someone spent money. It doesn't tell you how much money they have left. A large house doesn't tell you how large the mortgage is. An expensive watch doesn't tell you what's inside the investment account. This is why genuine wealth is often invisible. You can see what people spend. You can't easily see what they decided not to spend. True wealth is what remains after the spending stops.
Saving. Saving money doesn't always look exciting. Nobody celebrates you for not buying something. But saving creates something extremely valuable: flexibility. Every dollar you don't spend today can become a future option. You can invest it, you can use it during an emergency, you can use it to leave a job. You can use it simply to sleep better at night. The value of saving isn't only the amount of money you accumulate, it's the freedom that money creates. This is why lifestyle inflation can become dangerous. As income rises, spending often rises with it. A larger salary becomes a larger house. A larger house creates larger expenses. Eventually, a person can earn much more money without actually becoming much freer. So instead of asking only how much you can earn, ask another question. How much freedom does your money create?
The real price. Imagine climbing a mountain. You know the journey will be difficult. You might face rain. You might get tired. The path may become steep. But you don't expect the mountain to refund you because the climb was uncomfortable. You understand that difficulty is part of the price. Investing works in a similar way. Volatility is part of the experience. Markets can fall. Prices can change. Your portfolio can temporarily lose value. Many investors want the long-term reward without experiencing the discomfort required to stay invested. That's like wanting the view from the top of the mountain without climbing the mountain. The price of investing isn't only money. Sometimes the price is patience. Sometimes it's uncertainty. Sometimes it's watching your portfolio fall and resisting the urge to panic. Successful investing isn't about avoiding every uncomfortable moment. It's about deciding whether the long-term reward is worth the temporary discomfort.
Hedonic treadmill.
Now consider another psychological trap. You reach a goal. You feel excited. Then something interesting happens. The goal becomes normal. So you create another goal. You buy a better phone, then a better car, then a bigger house. Each achievement feels exciting for a while, but eventually your brain adapts. What once felt extraordinary becomes ordinary, and the finish line moves further away. You keep moving, but you never seem to arrive. The danger is that you can spend your entire life chasing a version of enough that never actually exists. That's why you need to define enough. Not because you should stop improving, but because you need to know what you're actually trying to achieve.
Final thought. So what should financial success actually look like? There isn't one answer. For one person, it might mean retiring early. For another, it might mean spending more time with family. For someone else, it might mean starting a business. Your financial plan should reflect your life. Your income is different. Your responsibilities are different. Your personality is different. Your definition of a good life is different. Financial success is rarely created by one spectacular decision. It's usually built through hundreds of ordinary decisions. Saving a little, investing consistently, avoiding unnecessary debt, staying patient, resisting comparison, and simply remaining in the game. These decisions don't look impressive individually, but repeated for years, they can become extremely powerful. So don't focus only on becoming richer. Focus on becoming financially stronger. Build a margin of safety. Save more than you need to. Invest with patience. Don't confuse expensive possessions with wealth. And most importantly, decide what your money is supposed to accomplish. Because if you don't define the purpose of money, the world will define it for you.
You'll keep chasing higher income, then higher spending, then higher status, and eventually discover that the number became bigger while your freedom didn't. Money is most valuable when it gives you choices. Choices about your time, choices about your work, choices about your family, choices about your future. So before asking, how can I become richer? Ask a better question. What does enough look like for me? Because once you know what enough means, money stops being the destination. It becomes the tool. And that's when financial success starts looking very different.
The money test. There is one final way to think about everything we've discussed. Imagine that tomorrow your income suddenly stopped. Not forever, just for a while. How long could your current lifestyle continue? 1 month? 6 months? 1 year? The answer tells you something important. Not about how rich you look, but about how financially strong you actually are. Because financial strength isn't only about income. It's about the gap between what you earn and what you need. It's about the savings you have, the debt you carry, the risks you take, and the amount of control you have over your time. A person earning a huge income but spending every dollar may have less financial freedom than someone earning less but saving consistently.
That's why financial progress can look boring from the outside. There may be no luxury car, no expensive watch, no giant house, just money quietly being saved and invested. But underneath that ordinary appearance, something powerful is happening. Options are being created. Security is being created. Freedom is being created. And time is being purchased. The goal isn't to become the richest person in the room. The goal is to become financially strong enough that money stops controlling every decision you make. So remember these simple principles. Spend less than you earn. Give your money time to compound.
Confuse luck with skill. Don't panic during every market decline. Don't compare your financial life with someone else's. And most importantly, know what enough means for you. Because there will always be something more to buy, another level to reach, another person to compete with, another number to chase. But if you never decide what enough means, the chase never ends. Money should serve your life. Your life shouldn't become a servant to money. And perhaps that's the real psychology of money. It's not about having the biggest number. It's about having enough control to live according to your own priorities. If this video changed the way you think about money, don't just watch the next video. Take one idea from this video and apply it to your own financial life.
And if you want more videos about money, psychology, investing, wealth, and the decisions that shape financial success, subscribe to the channel. Tap the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Because understanding money isn't about becoming rich overnight. It's about making better decisions year after year. And sometimes, one better decision can change everything. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.